This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. So this is DRESSX Digital Fashion and Sustainability Summit. This is the event which we're conducting on quite regular basis, and we're very happy to see all of you, our speakers and attendees on this summit. And we're going to have an amazing conversation about how technologies, which include digital fashion and innovations, can help us to bring traditional physical fashion industry into the more sustainable path. We have Natalia Mladenova, one of the founders of DRESSX. And Natalia, if you have an introduction word, a welcoming word, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fashion Tech Sustainability Summit. For us, it's always a pleasure to not only drive an innovation, but to do it in a sustainable way and to share this knowledge and to share the sustainable practices with everyone. So thank you so much. And Olga has been running the sustainability report at DRESSX. So I invite everyone to visit DRESSX.com and learn more about it. Digital fashion is more sustainable, more inclusive, and it's a lot of fun to wear it rather than to talk about it. So I invite to learn and to experience and to bring it into your own practices.
Thank you so much, Natalia. So I think we start this summit with DRESSX input on sustainability and what you're doing. Yes, we issue on annual basis a DRESSX digital fashion sustainability report. So you can check it on our website on the page of sustainability. Please feel free. It's this time it was quite long because we've done a lot of things. And I just want to remind you that sustainability, it's not only about decreasing the environmental impact, such as carbon footprint and water. And today, I think we're going to talk more about this part, but please keep in mind that sustainability is also about preservation of the culture and keeping peace in different countries all around the world. So our sustainability report covers all these activities which DRESSX have been doing during the last year. So feel free to look at the full report. So right now, I'm just going to talk about certain aspects which we think important and relevant for this summit. And yes, I will start just with a small and very short glance at the current state of the fashion industry. And I know for the last maybe decade and last 5 years, it was a very big movement from different brands and even administrations to move fashion industry and to create different policies and actions to bring sustainability in the fashion industry. There are brands which are using not the raw materials, but contributing into circularity. There are brands which contribute into the ethical production in the fashion industry. But we all understand that even though there are actions which has been done, we still need to continue that. And we still need to find more and more effective ways. And I think that innovations, technology innovations and digital fashion, blockchain, NFTs can help us with that. I know a lot of startups which help brands to trace their supply chain using blockchain technology. And I think this is the part where blockchain technology is not bad for our environment because of its carbon footprint, but it's actually bringing a lot of added value to trace the logistics or to trace how the items has been produced, where the raw materials coming from, etc. So I think for all of us, there are still a lot of things to do. And again, the reason of this summit for us is just to share the knowledge and to share some new ideas and new innovations, what are happening and how they can drive the sustainable fashion future. And in DRESSX, our big mission is actually to implement our latest technologies and sustainable goals to transform traditional fashion industry to make it more sustainable. And how we're doing this? We have 3 very ambitious sustainable goals. First of all, reducing environmental impact from the fashion industry. And we really want to contribute into that. And our calculations at DRESSX shows that if we replace traditional fashion industry, the production of the items in traditional fashion industry, by 1%, by producing these items digitally, in this case, we can decrease annually the carbon footprint of the traditional fashion industry by the annual carbon footprint of Denmark. And that is why our second big goal is to advocate for the sustainable consumption and production, because one goal is actually interconnected with the second one. So yes, by proposing the customers new ways of buying clothes, proposing customers like hybrid wardrobe, where they think about their wardrobe not only about physical pieces, but also about digital pieces, we can contribute into the decreasing of the production of the physical garments. But at the same time, we can keep the economy working because we are proposing digital goods instead. And the third goal is actually enhancing the partnerships for sustainable development. And again, this goal is also interconnected with the first two, because the more partnerships we have, the more production of digital goods and use cases of digital goods we have, the stronger partnership will be, and the more and more brands will switch to the digital fashion or implementing NFTs and innovations and technology. So yes, I was talking about 1%. If we replace 1% of the traditional fashion industry with digital production, where these numbers are coming from. So our methodology shows that production of the physical garments production the digital garments, it means 97% less carbon footprint in the comparison to the production of the physical garments. And by producing digitally, we can decrease the water consumption during the production of the goods by 3,300 liters, just because when we produce digital garments, we don't use water during the process. This is the production of the physical garments. For example, for the cotton t-shirt, we need quite a lot. So this is actually how we can contribute into the decrease in the carbon footprint. And to see our performance in 2022, so because of the amount of digital goods we sell and the amount of digital goods our consumers try or put on the photos, allows us to save the carbon footprint by 115, almost 15 tons. What does it mean? So we have, even digital production is much less in terms of the carbon footprint. We still have the carbon footprint associated with the digital goods. So if we have the carbon footprint of the item produced physically, let's say we have a t-shirt and we have the same t-shirt produced digitally and sell digitally at DRESSX. So we can calculate, we have both carbon footprints. So the difference between physical and digital production, this is the saving. This is how much we can save. So we calculate that for all the sales, for all try-ons we have at DRESSX, and I report that on the quarterly basis, and you can find these numbers in our annual sustainability report. The same with the water. Like I say, for the production of the digital garments, we don't use any water. Well, our internal joke, except of those 2 liters of water, which our designers drinks every day. But we know that for the production of the physical goods, we need quite a lot of water. So that water, which has been used to produce the t-shirt, the same t-shirt we took previously, physically versus no water usage for the production of this t-shirt digitally, gives us how much water do we save by switching to the digital. So these numbers are covering our first mission, and we have the second mission. The second mission is about decreasing. It's about decreasing overproduction and overconsumption, and it means that our customers need to be ready for the digital fashion. So we conducted a research in 2020, and we conducted the same research last year to understand actually how our customers change their perspective towards digital fashion. And what we can see that over 2 years, our consumers become more aware and more have more acceptance rate towards the digital fashion. So we ask them the same questions in both questionnaires. If they already bought at least one digital garment, are they going to buy another one? And you can see that in 2020, the number of people say that they're going to buy was less than in 2022. The same statistics we have for the experience with the creation of the content using digital garments. The same with replacing some real garments with the digital looks for the content creation. So we can see that just in 2 years, there is a positive shift towards digital fashion. What does it mean to us? That for the first 2 goals, to decrease the environmental impact from the traditional fashion industry and decrease the consumption and production, we're actually moving into the positive direction just in 2 years with digital fashion. And we want to push this direction, this impact even more. And we think that bringing awareness to our customers about the impact they bring in by choosing digital fashion is very important. So we decided to visualize this impact for them. So right now, if you go to the DRESSX website and if you select any product on our website, under the product description, you will see these numbers. You will see the numbers. What are you saving? How much carbon footprint do you save by choosing this digital t-shirt instead of buying the same physical t-shirt? And how much water do you save by choosing this digital t-shirt instead of buying the physical one? And we absolutely sure that bringing these numbers in front of the customers make them think and make them to change their behavior. So they will start to be more conscious. First of all, they will understand the impact they're doing by switching to the digital. But second, they will understand how much carbon footprint and how much water actually needed to produce a physical t-shirt. So by adding these numbers in front of the customers, we're absolutely sure that this will bring a consumer shift in their behavior to start buying less, to start buying more conscious, because now they have these numbers in front their eyes. So the same numbers will be added a little bit later this summer in our app. So underneath each product inside our app, the user will see these numbers about their savings. And even in the order, every time the user will do the order on DRESSX website and they receive the order confirmation, they will have these numbers. How much do they save in terms of carbon footprint and water with each order? We even decided to push more, and we are adding the user dashboard. So every user in their app or on their account on DRESSX website will be able to see cumulated number of carbon footprint and water they are saving by choosing digital fashion instead of physical items. And again, we think that these numbers will help users, will help customers to make a conscious choice. We're not saying that they will stop buying physical clothes. We still need physical clothes, but we're sure that these numbers will will help them to make more conscious choice. It means that maybe they'll start thinking that instead of going and buy something which is trendy this summer, but won't be trendy next summer, I will go and buy digitally, and I'll keep the physical purchase for something which will last longer in my wardrobe. We're also creating a digital digital fashion sustainability passport, which user will be able to share very easily in any social media. So if they want to show how much they contribute into the sustainable fashion, they will be able to share this passport with their friends in social media and explain, this is what I'm saving by choosing digital goods in some use cases. And we also think that this is very important tool for the brands as well. So for them, first of all, to realize the impact of the digital fashion. When we are talking with them and when we're explaining to different stakeholders that you can decrease your carbon footprint by 97% by producing some of the product digitally, for example, for the marketing campaign, or for some other reasons, it's one thing. But when we show them these numbers, these exact numbers, I think it will also make an impact for the brands to make the shift and implement digital fashion tools, maybe like AR try-ons or AI dressing, which we know will help them to decrease the returns, etc. So I think we are absolutely sure that these numbers which we are bringing, and we are the first digital fashion platform which are bringing these sustainability numbers to each of the products, will help to make a positive shift towards sustainability in fashion industry. Just talk a little bit more about partnerships, because it's the third part of our mission. Like I say, all of them are interconnected. Of course, we work with United Nations partners, and we contribute in we have major focus on 4 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And this is, of course, the industry innovation infrastructure by proposing different services as AR looks, AR try-on, AI instant try-on. We contribute into the responsible consumption and production, and I was talking about it for the last 5 minutes. And of course, into the climate action by decreasing the carbon footprint emission and finding ways and solutions how we can decrease the carbon footprint emission. And of course, the partnerships for the goals, because for us, it's very important to build the strong collaborations with different stakeholders. And this summit is one of the examples of these collaborations and building partners and bringing partners together. And because of the nature of the digital production, digital clothes production, we contribute into the clean water and sanitation and life on land, because DRESSX is, even though our carbon footprint is lower in comparison to the production of traditional fashion items, we still have the carbon footprint. And we offset all this carbon footprint from our operational activities, and we work a lot with flow carbon. And flow carbon is actually working with different forest protection projects. So by working with them, we contribute into the life on land and peace and justice in the world. Founders of DRESSX and major part of DRESSX team is from Ukraine, and we've done a lot of activities and still doing. We're supporting Ukrainian designers, creators in all ways we can. We're doing charity drops and fundraising drops. So for us, from last year, this sustainable development goal is very important and very touchy subject. And since we are talking about sustainable development goals, of course, we worked together with United Nations partners, and we recreated their classical SDG pin. Here you can see Stephen Kolb from SFDA wearing this digital pin just before the SFDA award. And you can see here the QR code. Natalia said at the beginning that digital fashion is much more fun when you try it on rather than talking about it. So you can scan this QR code, which will bring you directly to the DRESSX app, to this pin. And if you can make a photo of the video of yourself wearing this pin, it's for free. You don't need to pay anything, so it's for free. You just can create the photo of the video with you of this pin, and yeah, just share your feedback in the end of the summit, how it was, what ideas were very interested for you or something. We will be very pleased to hear from you. And yeah, I think this is what I wanted to say about DRESSX, about our actions and what we are doing and what we are planning to do over this summer to implement and to make the positive shift in traditional fashion industry by proposing innovative solutions. So if you have any questions, yeah, you can put your questions in chat, for example, or just raise your hand and I'll pick up you. No? Yeah, at the moment I don't see any questions in chat. Well, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat over the summit. And I think we will move to our next speaker, which is amazing Hadass Zakar. She is a sustainable innovation leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Germany. And I'm very excited to see and to hear Hadass' presentation, because we had a couple of chats about it. And yeah, I'm very curious about the solutions and the things she's going to talk. Hadass, I think I saw you. You're here with us.
Yes, I'm here. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I have to say that I was very excited to meet you all in Cannes, in the accelerator or platform that supports Ukrainian startups, and working in the fashion space in my past before, but also today in my current position. You're offering an interesting alternative that we will try to explore in a couple of minutes. Hold on, just, yeah. So if you move to the next slide, give a little bit of context. So as Elgo was saying, I'm Hadass Zakar. I'm originally Israeli, but I'm based in Berlin. And I work for PwC. Well, I drive the approach that we call sustainable innovation. I come from a background of entrepreneurship, and I have been started my career in the fashion space as an entrepreneur, and then kind of grew a company to work globally in North America, in Japan, and in Europe, and then took those creative and business knowledge that you learn in fashion, because it's a very innovative and fast space, and kind of applied it to more conventional industries. So working across industries, from financial industries to healthcare to technology and so on. And then today what I do in PwC is to help organizations to unlock innovation opportunities from a sustainability lens. So it's really, how do we design or transform products and services to be more future fit and to address both environmental and social challenges, and through that to lead a purpose-led growth for organizations, realizing that we need to look at a triple bottom line to future-proof an organization to live in the future, and to have a holistic perspective about the impact that is creating in the world. And so if you move to the next slide, I can, you know, kind of like help to understand what's the connection between sustainability and innovation, where essentially the sustainability space has been traditionally more connected to the idea of risks, because we would look at companies and we would try to understand in what way would they be impacted by the climate change and the transitional and social challenges that are connected to climate change. And those risks are connected to how climate change would impact its operation, its strategic stand in the world, its social license to operate and to exist, and mostly how the regulation will impact organizations in the future as they are increasing pressure on organizations around reporting for environmental and social topics. So what we try to do is to take that, you know, sustainability movement that was grounded in risk and to turn it into an opportunity, and to work with organizations through our innovation approach and to help them to build growth, differentiations, and new market opportunities from a sustainability perspective, to understand that we can create new products and services and new innovation to put them in the market and to address new customer base that has a strong sustainability consciousness and is driving his purchasing decisions through that, or to build differentiation in their competitive environment, or to think about new cooperation models, you know, with the public sector, with the civic sector, and even with partners in their competitive landscape to drive both change, but also value. The way that we do it is, if you move to the next slide, you will see a little bit of our approach to sustainable innovation. So particularly, we take two approaches which were designed differently and we couple them. The first approach is the design thinking approach, or an empathy-led design methodology. You can see it in the top part of the slide. So the strategic design approach and methodology is really, you know, it was used to create a lot of the digital products and services that we are using today, but essentially it takes a user-centric perspective, and it's trying to define a problem for the user to really understand what is his pain points and his needs, and then to ideate on solutions that he would want to use, that he needs in order to perform a task. We would build those prototypes to make sure that our idea for solution is correct. And after that prototyping, we would iterate and then launch it in the market once, you know, we kind of reached the desirable solution. The ESG space, as you see on the bottom, and ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. This is the risk metrics that I was talking about before. This is the reference sheet that help us to identify what are the environmental, social, and governance topics that are material to the business, for the business to operate in the future. Obviously, in the fashion space, it's all about manufacturing. So you have, you know, water stress, biodiversity, you know, waste, pollution, packaging material, raw sourcing, but also a lot of topics around human labor management, health and safety, and other social topics that are connected to the supply chain work. So we would take the ESG material topics, we would identify who are the stakeholders that are connected to this, you know, to the generation of waste or to the supply chain front, and we would drive that innovation process through their eyes. And we would put the problem and the user or the stakeholder impacted by it in the center, and we try to create a solution and in a form of a product and service for them. If you move to the next slide, you can see that the way for us to do it is to take a very collaborative approach through canvases and through workshops and through ideation phases that help us to identify innovation opportunities and then apply sustainable business models that help us to rethink how our businesses are operating in the world and how can they drive a triple bottom line growth. So this is a little bit of a context, you know, of where I'm coming from. And when I met you both in Cannes, but later on in our constant discussion afterwards, what we try to do is to look at DRESSX sustainability mission. And you can see it in the next slide, and Olga was presenting it, but you have, a solution which is digital fashion, and your aim is to use that to replace 1% of the traditional fashion industry with digital alternatives. And those, advocating and driving more sustainable consumption and production. And this ambition, this ambitious aim can only be driven if we will, again, come up with innovations in the form of products and services to reach your goal. So the question, if you move to the next slide, would be, how can we apply sustainable innovation to develop new products and services and business models, either for DRESSX or for its stakeholders, to reach its sustainability mission? And it's a little bit of a creative exercise that we're performing in this moment and can be applied later on to the other stakeholders. So we went back to the next, if you move back to the next slide, we went to the research that you've made, and we already kind of, ask ourselves, oh, you already identified that digital fashion users, content creators, and fashion lovers, they have, a tendency, or they see the value of digital alternatives. So what we're asking ourselves, how can we impact them to replace more physical garments with digital alternative and minimize waste and then decrease overconsumption? So in this slide, you can see that the main user, the actual users of the digital alternatives, are in focus. But if you move to the next slide, you see that the exercise that we're going to do is to try to take a little bit of a more holistic perspective to the problem definition. And we will not necessarily put the user in the center or just the content creator in the center. We try to identify who are the active stakeholders in the content creation ecosystem, and how can we activate them to develop or to drive more ESG, positive ESG behavior. So we done that mapping for DRESSX, or if you move to the next slide, it's bigger than for DRESSX. We have mapped the participating ecosystem partners in the content creation ecosystem. And what we put in the center, actually in the core, are the fashion brands. The fashion brands that are, we are offering them digital alternatives, and they are basically, creating content with those digital alternatives. They would work closely with influencers and fashion content creators that are using those digital alternatives. They would work closely with media outlets that are putting online that content. Obviously with e-com and retailers that are not just using the digital content, but perhaps also selling the physical products. That would be our core stakeholders. Then we would expand our lens a little bit bigger, and we would say, well, who are the next string of people who are impacted in the content creation space? So obviously those who are getting that content and are influenced with that, the shopper lovers, the people who are following fashion, the people who are creating the physical garment. These are the fashion industry as a whole, or the supply chain and garment manufacturers, but also the digital supply chain partners, which will be the DRESSXs of the world, the developers, the designers, the data scientists, and so on. And we would also look at another group of stakeholders, which are the people who are dealing with the waste, the people who are dealing with products who has been disposed, or the people who are dealing in the ability to extend the life cycle of physical products. And then another level would be, the more indirect stakeholders, like the investors that are putting pressure on bringing profit, the regulators that are, painting boundaries around companies and how they operate, but also social pressure from activists, NGOs, and climate warriors. So right now, this is the ecosystem. And then in the next slide, you can see that, today, DRESSX is disrupting and impacting the waste that is generated, mostly between the collaboration that is harnessed between fashion brands and the content creators, right? They are giving them digital alternatives and they are creating content, and that is bringing value to fashion brands that enhance their brand's value and help them to, a lot of the time, also sell more physical products. But the exercise that we're going to do in the next slide would be, well, what are the next partnerships or the next value exchanges between the stakeholders that we can identify and build new offerings and new products and services that have an ESG impact, that are driving sustainability. So as we said, there is a key relationship between content creators and fashion lovers. Content creators want to create content, which is cool. Fashion lovers want to, to follow fashion, but also want to make more informed and sustainable choices when it comes to fashion. This is one partnership that we can leverage. Another partnership or another key relationship would be between the fashion brands and the digital supply chain partners. The developers, as we said, the startups, the designers, and so on. Fashion brands basically want to increase their brand value. They want to get to new clients. They want to create new revenue streams. What can be done between the digital supply chain partners that are responsible for creating new, exciting digital engagement, and through fashion brands that could help fashion brands to increase brand value and the revenue stream and so on without the dependency in physical garments? I'm not going to go through everything. Maybe the last one would be, media outlets and activists. Activists want to increase awareness around sustainability. They want to use media outlets to do that. So now that we identified some interesting relationships, we can prioritize them and we can move to the next slide and see what do we do with them. So we take them to another form of, of innovation trigger approach. This tool, we call it the, innovation spotting canvas, where we ask ourselves, where we can position two stakeholders, and we are already identified that they exchange on a certain value, and we ask ourselves, how might we help them to develop innovation opportunities to enhance the value that they already kind of change through products and services. So the example would be in the next slide. Again, the collaboration between, the fashion lovers and the fashion shoppers to the content creators. So the innovation opportunity would be about how might we help the content creators to advocate for digital alternative and influence fashion lovers to make more sustainable, informed purchasing decisions. So Olga, you were showing already, that you took the initiative to already demonstrate how much carbon footprint or how much water you are saving through digital alternative. What else can be done then? This is one example of innovation, but we're asking ourselves, what else could be done there? And once we reach that in a form of an initiative, or as you say, in a form of visualization, in a form of a service that helps you to maybe, kind of capture how much carbon footprint your product, your physical product versus your digital product through times where season, for instance, has saved, then we will be able to reduce toxic emissions, waste, packaging materials, and pollution, which is associated with physical products. In the next slide, you can see, some value, some innovation opportunities for those designers, developers, and fashion brands by asking ourselves, well, could we create new products and services that will help fashion brands to create no waste revenue streams? Could that be through NFTs? Could that be through different sharing platforms? What would those new no waste revenue streams could be like? So fashion brands could depart a little bit for the creation of physical product and direct some of the revenue stream to the metaverse. The last example that I'm going to show or going to trigger in the next slide would be either an opportunity to expand a little bit beyond the space of content creation and to ask ourselves, well, we already have digital alternatives in the form of, you know, maybe a replica of the physical garments that we're putting in the market. Could we connect what we have in the market to the digital alternative through a digital twin or through a digital product passport, and to connect it to take back schemes of fashion brands and to drive those garments back to circularity, to bring them to recycled spaces, to help us to turn the linear fashion system to a more circular one through collaboration in that form. So these are a lot of, you know, big questions that need to trigger us to come up with new products and services. And there's a long way to go about it. In the next slide, you can see that if we have enough time, we're going through quite a robust innovation sprint when we ideate on future scenarios and the desirable future of your product and service that you are conceptualizing, and then also checking in what way does it add value to the planet, to the people, and to profit. In the next slide, you can see, so I hope that resonate somehow. And if you're curious to learn more or to think together with DRESSX, to think together with the partners here in the platform on how can we help, you know, and really drive innovation opportunities from an ESG perspective, especially in the fashion space, where it's one of the second most polluting industry in the world. I'm happy, very accessible both on LinkedIn and through DRESSX, and happy to drive that movement forward, which is important for everyone, I'm sure, in society and on this planet. So thank you.
Yeah, Hadas, thank you so much. I can see that the comments in the chat that it was very insightful, and I agree, it was very insightful, and I think that we need to talk more with you about all the steps. But the question from me is, what is the most effective way, for example, to engage new stakeholders or to bring new people in this like ecosystem? So how would you see this communication with people, and what will bring them and motivate them to come?
Yeah, I think, you know, change really comes from driving a grassroots movement. So, you know, the same way that we already identified the key stakeholders in this space, it would be to bring them to one space and to start, you know, and capturing a very specific task. Again, you know, that, you know, we want to understand in what way could we help decrease waste beyond just a digital fashion content creation space, and to try to talk to fashion brands in the same room and understand which revenue model, which, you know, kind of like alternative could we develop together that will decrease our dependency on the physical production, and to have the same conversation in the same room with the media companies and with civil organization, and through that collaborative dialogue to drive an action together. So this is how we kind of like come together with our, you know, in PwC around partnerships, and those, you know, those formats are best ones for ideation, because each one brings his perspective. That cross-pollination of perspectives really creates new models of collaboration.
Great. Thank you so much. So yeah, let's continue the conversation with you, because I think there are a lot of things which can be done. And thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, happy to be here. Good luck. Thank
you. So let's move to our next speaker. We have Sally Yao. I think I pronounced your last name correctly. If no, please correct me. She's an amazing head of corporate development and founding partner from Spin Fashion. It's been a very long time since we worked together with on different projects with Spin. So hi, Sally, I hope you're here with us.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Let me pull your presentation.
Perfect. So just a quick intro before the presentation. This is Sally from Spin Fashion. Thank you so much, DRESSX, for having me. And I think for us, we really shared the same vision with DRESSX, which is to create a more sustainable fashion industry for the future. And for us, we're realizing it with our product, which is Spin. And today I will share a bit about what Spin is and how we're tackling the problem that we're seeing in the industry. So next slide is that Spin the Fashion is actually the physical, previous one.
Sorry.
Spin the Fashion is the physical first Web3 retail infrastructure and marketplace for fashion and culture. We've actually been in the space, as Olga has mentioned, powering the Web3 experiences in the space since 2019 for partners including H&M, Lane Crawford Joyce Group, Vogue, as well as Galeries Lafayette. And it all started with the fact that around 80% of the luxury customers still shop in the physical stores. And we're thinking, how can we actually enhance the physical retail experience with digital experiences, which is the now and the future. So Spin aims to bring the physical luxury retail seamlessly into Web3, which is where we're now. And we focus on the retail's three main pillars, which is architecture, arts, and wearables, transforming them into valuable digital NFTs. And what Spin does is that we provide brands and creators and retailers with a patent-pending Web3 merchandising system, as well as a go-to-market marketplace. And you may ask why we need Web3. That's what we're thinking. It's because the current fashion business model is very linear and does not maximize the value and causes overproduction. There's no way to track and monetize what's already been sold, but to just keep selling more and more and more. And also, it does not catch up with the current customers' expectations. So most fashion retail businesses are still running in Web 1 and Web 2, and it's very disconnected with the current Web3 system. So there's no easy way for both businesses or customers to really transition to what technology enables us to do right now in Web3. So next slide, and what Spin is building is to really bring the Web3 circular retail to life. And we do that by making the actual product your NFT. And there's no need to claim or like open a wallet or doing all the complicated stuff in the Web3 world. It's an evolution of retail that we're seeing from traditional Web 0, Web 1, which is store-centric and offline retail system, to Web 2, which is what we're familiar with for the Amazon or Alibaba model, which is very customer-centric, where products can be monetized only once, but then there's no traceability at post-purchase level. And we think that this business model is actually the where most of the fashion waste comes from. And now we're building the circular retail model, which we're shifting from the customer-centric model approach to a product-centric approach, changing the fashion's KPI from product sold to product access. So for the first time that brands and retailers or creators can monetize the same products over and over again with full traceability, both physically and digitally, and shifting to a connected and circular economy with our IoT connected and Web3 system. Next slide. And in the next slide, you can see a recap of the Galeries Lafayette Champs-Élysées Web3 retail activation that we've done back in January this year, where you can see how we bring the Web3. Yes. So you can see how we're bringing the Web3 experiences to luxury customers in real life. And we basically digitize the atrium of the store, set up VR stations where customers can actually experience and create the avatars in the spot and experience the product showcase in the digital space. Customers can also pre-order the items, where we call it experience to order. This is a new model, and the products will be shipped to your door directly. So you can see that even before the product is being manufactured, the product is being engaged millions times. So we have data showing that the product has been, tried on the AR, more than 3 million times before even it's being purchased. And the last slide, I would like to encourage everyone to scan this QR code, where to experience how Spin actually feels on your phone as a customer. And this is actually a product where we partner with DRESSX as the digital fashion house, co-creating the digital twin with the independent designer, which is Grace Link, that she made the product using the biotech materials from the Caring Material Innovation Lab. And you can see how the digital twin look like. You can see a supply chain traceability, visualizing the blockchain in a very simple way. And before purchase, you can also click on the AR button to bring the mannequin to your home, to your space, and experience it in a one-to-one scale and order the product directly to your place. Or if you're ordering a digital item or a digital item, if you want to just experience and collect it in the AR version. And that's simply everything that I have to share today, but super excited about what's going to be in the future, and hope to work together with everyone here to build a digitized and connected circular economy together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sally. It was great to have you, and yes, we have a long history working together. So maybe if you can, maybe you can talk about your next projects or something you're preparing, next activation, because yes, this one with Galeria Lafayette was really amazing. But if you have any other experience like this where you mixed in digital and this phygital experience.
Yes, definitely. We are planning quite a few activations with different partners. Can't share the names yet, but then something exciting to share would be we'll be launching Spin to the public. So we'll be onboarding a lot of creators, brands, and retailers on the system, so that to open access to everyone, basically to enjoy what we've been building for the past years. And that will be available in coming September. So that we're super excited about that. Yeah, so hopefully we can work together.
Amazing.
The near future, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sally. Our next speaker is Michael Thompson Golick. I think I pronounced correctly. Again, I'm really sorry. Michael is a product manager from Google, but I think you will talk more about what you're doing, about your role, and about the product you're going to present today.
Super.
Would you like
Olga, thank you.
Yep.
But thank you so much for having me. I think we're going to start with a video, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So I've been at Google for about 10 years, and I've always been in some form of partnership. So I do a lot of negotiation, and I'm usually not in public forums like this. I'm in very small rooms trying to figure out the terms and conditions when we partner with the outside world. I've had the privilege for the past 5 years, I've been dedicated to Google Maps. And in that capacity, I've learned a lot about how localized data, any type of data that's provides information about a local area can be pretty powerful. And so that's actually how I kind of came to get involved with Google's broader sustainability efforts. And I'm here today to talk about a very specific product called the Global Fiber Impact Explorer. And so excited to kind of give a deep dive into how that works, and glad to follow Hades and Sally, because a lot of the themes that were raised in their presentations will come to light here. I think you can almost think of my speech to follow theirs as like a very specific case study of how products and services can be used to move the needle in sustainability. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and let you kind of start the video presentation.
One of the problems that we face is the fashion industry is one of the biggest contributors to the global climate crisis. Fundamentally, the people that are producing a product in the fashion industry, they don't really have the information. They're desperate for it. I think everyone really wants to try and source and supply in a better way. There is a demand there.
My name is Maria McClay. I work at Google Cloud and I run their fashion and beauty team. I spent nearly my entire life working in retail fashion and I loved it. But what I realized is that the industry was changing and it was really at an inflection point where technology would fundamentally revolutionize the entire industry.
I'm graduating in May. I've been experimenting with denim samples.
And so what was the challenge?
With the project, it's probably the fabric sourcing, trying to, balance sustainability and functionality.
It's funny when you go to a store, you just buy something and you don't realize how much is actually behind it, right? How many decisions that you need to make. Stella McCartney brought deep industry expertise. The WWF brought incredible conservation knowledge. And Google brought technological experience as well as unique data points from our Google Earth engine. We developed the GFIE, the Global Fiber Impact Explorer. So it'll tell you all your different types of materials, where it was sourced from, and then you would have your risk rating. Is it low, medium, high? How can I actually decrease my environmental impact? It's a web-based, intuitive environmental data platform built to enable more responsible sourcing decisions at the raw material stage of the fashion and textile supply chain, where the data is the most opaque.
I think this tool is a great answer for other people to really gain that transparency and understand the impact on where they're sourcing.
Our hope is that this tool can empower people to invest in communities as they're moving towards regenerative farming.
For example, we're working on really interesting pilots in Turkey for regenerative cotton farming. And if you can have incentives and work with the people that are supplying you your raw material, it can have a really, really big positive impact on the environment.
We are in our cotton farms. It's been in our family for, I guess, 5 generations now. In a farm like ours, you grow 2 crops a season. Regenerative agriculture requires that you don't do anything in that second season. And the next season, the cotton grew as well, if not better than the conventional way.
We all have to realize and face the facts that we are in danger of future generations not having the quality of life that we've been so lucky to experience. So we have to all work together across all industries and we have to take responsibility. We have to act now.
Super, thank you. I've had the privilege of working closely with Maria McClay, who was featured in the video. She came to Google, I think, about 8 years ago, having spent her whole career in fashion. And one of the things that she helped us understand straight away was that at the time, Google was just getting started in its sustainability story. And Maria helped us understand that the fashion industry is already ahead of the curve, really wants to make changes and make changes to the way the supply chain works. But she helped us understand that, like, a big problem that everyone in the industry faces, and frankly, other industries as well outside fashion, is the opacity of the supply chain. And her words became very prescient just because in the years to follow, not even with respect to fashion, we've all seen in the news supply chain disruptions, challenges with shipping and transportation. And so without visibility into the supply chain and without visibility into how the raw materials are acquired and processed and then delivered to market, it's next to impossible to make meaningful changes. And I think we've all heard about, the concerns raised about greenwashing and what is this really? And so Google, the way we think about our place in the sustainability space is really around data and how we can leverage the power of data, in particular local data, to help our users and now our business customers, our enterprise customers, make better decisions. So that brings us to the Global Fiber Impact Explorer. It started out as a volunteer project internally at Google in collaboration with our friends at IKEA, the World Wildlife Fund, as well as Stella McCartney. And I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, we had a handful of volunteer engineers on the cloud side of our business take a prototype that the World Wildlife had developed in an Excel spreadsheet and recreate it in a web-based form that would run on Google Cloud, on Google's cloud infrastructure. And we finished that about a couple of years ago, and have since expanded our partnership with the World Wildlife Fund to include Textile Exchange. They're another nonprofit who works in the space to help the industry understand how the raw materials are produced. And we're also working with another partner called NGIS. They're a longstanding partner of Google Cloud, and they develop software solutions to help companies and businesses understand the supply chain. So all 4 groups have come together. Textile Exchange has the role of doing the day-to-day management of the tool. So the tool is actually not yet launched. It's expected to be released, I believe, in a few weeks. They'll run the day-to-day management of it, and the World Wildlife Fund will remain involved to kind of stand behind the methodology. They'll answer questions about like the credibility of the scoring algorithm and how that works. And then, of course, Google will remain involved to make sure that as the tool is developed and new features and functionality are added, that it's done in a way that works really well with our Google Cloud infrastructure. So this product is exciting for us because it's a very different approach. Typically, Google, like we build something top to bottom and then release it on our own when we're ready. But here, very early on, we realized we had to collaborate with industry and with the social sector for it to be really successful. In case I glossed over this, I do want to spend some time just explaining what the tool is. So it's a web-based application. You can go on it. It's secure. So it's intended for retail customers or fashion brands. And the idea would be that your company and all of your employees can go onto the tool. And what you do is you input an instance, which is just a technical way of saying you would input a campaign around, maybe it's a shirt or a dress, and you would put characteristics about the garment that you want to make, how much fabric is required, the types of materials you want to use, the regions where you would source the materials from. The tool will take all of the inputted data and then reference it against a very large corpus of third-party data. We have a lot of data sources from Google, including Google Earth Engine, and data sources from the World Wildlife Fund as well. But basically, you'll put in the details of your campaign, and then the tool will reference that to information we have about the real world. Over the years, we've collected a lot of really valuable information about water and the state of the planet from our satellite imagery, our flyover aerial imagery, and of course, street view imagery. So all of that data underpins the functionality of the tool. And so the tool is essentially able to let you know, okay, based on what you're looking to do next season with this particular fashion line, here's going to be the impact on the environment across 5 factors. And those are, I think those are water, deforestation, biodiversity, air quality, and then just general climatic impact. The tool's not launched yet. I believe it's going to be released in a few weeks, and we're excited for everyone to use it. It's free. Any brand can log on and create an account and begin experimenting with it. Textile Exchange, as well as Google, we have people and employees who are on standby ready to take questions and receive feedback. And then our partner NGIS is also available to do and build proprietary solutions for industry. So we recognize there might be companies out there who want to go above and beyond the core functionality of the fiber tool. So I'll pause there. I know it's a lot of information, but excited to be here and participate and share about what the work that Google's doing in the fashion industry.
Michael, thank you so much. It's very, very inspiring, and I checked the tool. It's really amazing. So the idea is, yes, everyone, please go check the tool. Maybe Michael, you can drop the link if it's possible. If you can do it now drop the link in the chat so people can check the tool. And my question is, do you have any brands that planning to use the tool as a beta testing and show some kind of the initial results and impact just to build the use case?
We do. So we worked with, in the early day, about a couple of years ago, before the first public announcement, we worked really closely with IKEA, Stella McCartney, and I believe H&M.
Oh.
I can get the details of it. I'm not sure if we're allowed to share, but effectively, like those brands used the tool, put in actual information they had about actual plans to return a risk assessment, and then they were able to use the risk assessment to make adjustments. So I can speak generally to some of the outcomes. I know one brand, I think, entirely switched supplier, like their cotton supplier, into another region where they would have more confidence that the environmental impact would be lower. Other brands will actually make adjustments to the material itself, right? You might find, okay, and I'm just making this up, but like, oh, if we do cotton, the impact on water will be high, but if we switch to an alternative fiber, the risk is cut in half. We're aware of like some of those type of adjustments as well. One piece of functionality that won't be available in the first release, which we're working on, is subnational granularity in our data. So what we've realized is that the more granular we can make the input and output data, the better the risk assessment. Right now, if you were to go into the tool, I believe it's all at the national level. The localization of the tool doesn't go down further. So that's something that we're working on for 2.0 release of the tool.
Okay, well, that sounds fantastic, and I hope that more brands will be interested to test your tool and also to report to show the report and to implement to implement the advice or implement the results of this tool. But I think it's really great. I'm looking forward for the official launch and to see how many brands are going to join. And like I say, I hope it will be a lot of them, because I think this is what we need. And like I say, I checked the tool and it's pretty great. So the more brands, traditional fashion brands, are going to, or not only fashion brands, the more brands are going to use it, the better results and impact we will have. Thank you so much, Michael.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'll provide my contact information offline. I don't have LinkedIn, but happy to take up any follow-up meetings. I'm more comfortable in that kind of a setting, so
okay, no worries.
After the event.
Yes, there are people who are asking for your contact. So yeah, if you want to share some information about you, yeah, please do it in the chat, because there are people who are really interested in that. Thank you so much, Michael, again. And
thank you.
Thank you. And I think we are moving to our small panel discussion. It will be very small with amazing ladies. So we have Megan McDowell here, from a senior innovation editor from Vogue Business. We have Zuzana Zatala, sustainability manager from Vogue Poland. Unfortunately, Barbara from Boston Consulting Group cannot join us. So, and we also have Bettina von Schlippe, from a publisher from Vogue Singapore. Hello, ladies. I hope you're all here.
Hi.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. So happy to have you. Bettina, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's really late in Singapore right now, so I appreciate a lot that you're here with us. I want to talk with you about slightly different angle to the sustainability in fashion industry, and about implication of different technologies. So we've been talking from the beginning about shifting the customer preferences to use the innovations. And in your opinion, how can digital fashion platforms and technologies create this sense of emotional connection and value in consumers to encourage them to invest in fewer but high quality pieces rather than in fast fashion trends?
Yeah, thank you, Olga. Interesting question. I believe, of course, coming from a publishing background, our daily bread and butter is, of course, storytelling. So I guess the key for us is to give you and the consumers all the necessary information to get more excited about the products, the digital products that you guys are producing, because when you get more insights and you not only awareness, but the insights and the information and the impact that you can really make with your purchase, then of course the mindset changes, and this definitely will trigger all the change that we need in the system. So our main job, and I'm very happy about what I have seen with PwC, and brilliant presentation, by the way, really saying what is the actual job of a media outlet, and it's primarily, of course, to increase awareness and give the information for this very conscious consumption, because we see a lot of, I mean, we all spoke about it, greenwashing, all of that. So the job here is definitely to give the best experience, and this experience comes through the storytelling angle from our side, but as well the best experience from a product side that you produce. So I think the quality of the product is key, as well as the experience itself. We have seen a lot of issues because of not existing interoperability, tech problems still, so that the digital fashion experience is still not there where we want it to be so accepted and be like a mass product for everyone, to say like, yes, instead of investing into a new piece, I would rather go, be it for content production or for my social media, into a digital offering.
Okay, thank you so much. Megan, do you have something to add?
Yes, no, I think that's a great, I think Bettina shared some amazing points, especially about the storytelling. I think that's so important in technology and fashion technology. And I think that's what fashion can bring to the table. I think in terms of, and from what I remember, your question was about making it easier, or adding value, or making it more desirable to kind of dress in digital fashion. I think from a logistical standpoint, I think making it just really easy to share, to try it, and to share when you are wearing digital fashion online. I think that the ease of use from the customer standpoint is super important when you're looking at new technologies like these. I think even the idea of like making clothes that you wear on your physical body that make it easy to take pictures of and adapt with digital fashion, I think is a really interesting idea. So I've already started thinking about, okay, if I want to wear more DRESSX on social media, I need to take more pics wearing some kind of outfit that is a natural complement to being dressed in digital fashion. So I think maybe there's an opportunity to think about, okay, can you create physical fashion that makes it really fun and easy and intriguing to add digital elements to it, so that you look cool at the party, but then when you see the pics from the party later on, your outfit is even cooler. I think that could be really interesting. And I think, obviously the storytelling is really important. And then just the idea of maybe adding exclusivity to designs to make them desirable, to continue to foster design talent. I think that's very important to make desirable fashion. But at the end of the day, I think, just making it easy to dress and wear and broadcast digital fashion, I think, is a huge incentive that's, not quite as sexy, but it's also pretty straightforward. So maybe we'll see that more and more. And I know obviously DRESSX has been huge in this effort.
Thank you so much, Megan. Susanna, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, of course. I have it here. Anyway, it's so great to be here with you. It's good to see you since the Vogue Poland's Business Fashion Environment Summit. And thank you so much for inviting me. So all the points were already made. Maybe I'm just going to add to it. I think I mean, from like the consumer side, what would draw me into the digital fashion sphere is the idea and the possibility of, personalization. Knowing that you can participate in the design process. I think it gives you a sense of ownership, which makes you then value the object more, and it builds that emotional connection. So there's this endless possibility for, creative expression without harming the planet. And here comes again the piece about interactive storytelling, education, just stressing the idea that digital fashion sort of pushes forward democratization of fashion because it allows, a wider group of people to own pieces that would otherwise be inaccessible to them, through like financial means. I think it just makes fashion more playful. That kind of takes away that guilt that we always have. And it's shifting the narrative away from what you lose by cutting down and being restrictive and feeling guilty to what you can gain by changing the way that you consume from physical to digital, and just having fun with it.
I absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm also very happy to have you here and to see you here. So we've been talking a lot about positive impact from innovations, from digitalization of the fashion industry. However, I would like to discuss with you this question about potential ethical concerns or some unintended consequences associated with the digitalization of fashion, and how we can avoid them or address them proactively.
Maybe I will jump in right now. So I'm not, left for the last. Well, one thing that comes to my mind is potential for misrepresentation and exploitation of like marginalized groups, communities, identities. So let's say take a non-Black male creator using a Black female avatar that is then hired for a company, that maybe this is their only way of checking off the diversity box. So, maybe they should have rather hired a real model. So there is this potential for, issues surrounding identity, like I said, also body image, because it can invite many alterations. And well, we know what's been, the rate of people disassociating with their social media presence. So what we need are clear guidelines surrounding digital identity and also representation.
Okay, thank you so much. Bettina, what do you think?
I think it's, of course, a very valuable point. And we just had a discussion because maybe you remember we have done our last cover as an AI cover. And this was a huge conversation for the creative industry, because they are saying, so now if publishers are starting to work with AI only, that means like all the models are gone. Of course, that was not our intention, and we that was really a part of an experiment and a bigger discussion, and I'm happy that we are having this right now. But I think it's important in terms of really finding the right balance. And as you say, there's no regulation, so no copyright. All of the basics that you have in the classical industries need to be applied as well into digital. And for me, the biggest issue that I see, I mean, environmentally, that we are not, replacing the fashion waste by electronic waste, that we are, that the idea of digital fashion is really replacing and not being an add-on to an fashion experience, because this very often happens as well. So it's almost like a carte blanche, so to say, we are buying the physical, plus on top, we are doing a lot of digital activities. And I think this is the wrong mindset, and we need to, our job is to really showcase that it needs to be a clear balance in this whole situation.
Thank you so much. I absolutely agree with you about the point where we need to replicate the same regulations we have in physical space to the digital fashion, because right now digital realm is kind of growing and exploding, but we still have to catch up on the regulations and understand what should be applied and how we should deal with it. So thank you so much. Megan, do you have, I know that you have something to share here as well.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I think this is such an interesting theme to talk about when I cover fashion and technology at Vogue Business. There's two topics that are like usually the most exciting. One are like the legal questions, and the second one are the identity questions and how you cross ethics when it comes to identity. And I think both of those are kind of unexplored territory that we're starting to navigate. I think from the identity standpoint, I think obviously my co-speakers here have already kind of touched on that. I think that's a very interesting question to consider, is when you're inventing humans or when you're making digital representations of humans, what are the new considerations in terms of ethics and representation and disclosure? I think similarly, when you're introducing digital goods, there's this idea of copycats. And, we've already seen this come to a head in terms of lawsuits. So I think that's a big consideration that brands are going to have to face in terms of who owns designs and how is that attributed. And I think that's going to be a whole new world, because no longer does a flat representation of an item, no longer is it obviously art. Now it actually might be seen as an actual object, a luxury good that has value. So I think that's super interesting. I also think one thing that's interesting to point out is, like, when we're talking about specifically the environmental impacts of digital fashion, we need to make sure we're not making assumptions about, okay, this replaces that, this means this. So I think measuring the impact is really important, because we've already seen in, physical fashion that, for example, Gen Z, they say, oh, sustainability is so important to us. We very much really only want to support certain brands that have more ethical practices. But then when you look at what they're actually buying, maybe that doesn't match. So I think that's an interesting point, is like, when people buy digital fashion, how is that affecting their purchase behavior or their mindset? And so I think all of these are very interesting, very hard challenges, but it's really interesting to think about many of these ideas.
Absolutely agree with you, and that's why I think that summits like this and media is playing a very important role by explaining what is the real impact and how they can behave. And yeah, I think we will see the development of the behavior and the whole perspective on the digital fashion innovations, avatars, all this metaverse experience in the next couple of years, and it's going to be really interesting new world. So I have very last question for all of you. In what ways can virtual try-on experience, and right now we have a lot of conversations about virtual try-on experience. So in which ways can virtual try-on experiences and augmented reality enhance sustainable shopping behavior and reduce the need for physical garment production and transportation? Who wants to start? Maybe Megan, you'll start first.
Megan, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, another really interesting and broad question. I think when I hear virtual try-on, I've seen so many different solutions that fall under that umbrella. So there's so many different ways to try virtual try-on. What I think I've seen in the short term, in the immediate term, is this ability to visualize better how an item might look on your body. It helps you discover new items, and in an ideal world, eventually it helps you understand the fit of an item. I know that one's very hard technically, but we're starting to see solutions. Just speaking of Google, who I know joined us earlier, I was really interested to cover a recent project they did to photograph 80 different people and digitally fit garments on top of their figures. That doesn't use digital fashion. It uses generative AI and it combines two images, but I could easily see a world in which you do digitize garments, you provide your measurements, and you can see how something will fit you, and it can help you pick out your size. There's also a company called BODS, which is doing that based on a picture or submitted sizes from your own body, which is super interesting. And I've tried it before, and it actually helps me inform purchase decisions. It helps me because when you see a model that's only one example, and everyone has a different body. So to be able to see it replicated on your body, I think is super interesting, and it's just a matter of time and the technology getting better, but the path to doing that is very obvious. So I think that's really interesting. I think AR try-on, as we all know, is getting better and better. I think one day that will also be an opportunity to a camera, smartphone will be so smart that it can detect your measurements and it can automatically interpret the garment and see how stretchy it is, see how the fabric behaves. I think that's going to be super interesting. That's a little bit further off in terms of realism. And obviously this prevents returns. So, I didn't say that, but it's obvious that when you see how something fits on you, you're less likely to buy multiple versions. You're not going to use your home as a dressing room anymore, a physical dressing room. You can do it digitally. So when you get your item, you're more likely to like it, more likely to keep it, and you're unlikely to make as many returns. I think another example of 3D design and helping to reduce waste is in the design process itself. I know we've covered that a lot and talked about that a lot, but so much of the sampling and design process, the photographing on models, sending back and forth to manufacturers, that creates a lot of waste. And so I think we're already seeing brands start to convert their design practices to being all digital. And another kind of wild card I want to mention, and then I'll stop talking, is we kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, is this idea of personalization. And I think one day when on-demand manufacturing or made-to-measure manufacturing is better, that when it's faster and easier to scale, I think it'll be really interesting for people to be able to modify items online. They can use digital design to visualize what it might look like, and then they can have a piece made specifically for them. And so only items that are ordered and paid for will be made. And of course, you're going to be less likely to return it, hopefully, if the item is kind of customized to you in some way. And then it'll be a one of one, and then maybe it will be even more valuable on the resale market. And I can go on and on, but I think those are the first three that came to my mind.
Well, leave something for us to
Yeah,
because I feel like
Susanna, go ahead. I'm just thinking while you speak, because there is nothing left.
there's very little left. Maybe there's just to say that, I mean, like you've already talked about the virtual sampling, but again, it just gives, the creative freedom to tweak colors, to change trims.
yeah.
Designers can create and save as many different, projects. So I think it just unleashes, the creative freedom. And again, what you said about reducing overproduction, having pieces made, especially for you, made on demand, it kind of brings back this notion of, slow fashion that you wait for, fashion that you think about, fashion that you can plan in your head, that doesn't just arrive on your doorstep the next day. Something that you just tire of and you treat as like disposable. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, inside the process, obviously there's a functionality point of view. So for the try-ons, just to, obviously streamline the entire process. But then on the other hand, as well, use it as a tool to engage with fashion. And this is what Susanna said, like, being more creative with it. But in general, I think it's like just a very small aspect of like the circular economy that we want to achieve in the fashion industry. And therefore, I guess that it's a good first step, because it's directly related to the consumers and it's easy to apply. And if the technology, and obviously there's a huge improvement, I really believe in the on-demand circle, instead of just like overproducing and take what you get. So if we come to this point through knowledge, through education, and through experiences, then we're exactly where we want to be in the future.
Thank you so much, Bettina. I absolutely agree with you with on demand. I am also I'm always talking about on demand production and micro factories. And I think for me, the ideal future of fashion industry is actually the producing on demand instead of making some estimation of the volume. So this will go to the decreasing of overconsumption and overproduction. This is what we are talking about the whole summit today. Thank you so much, Bettina, Megan, Susanna. Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and Bettina, for you, thank you so much again for joining during the night in Singapore. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we have last but amazing speaker, Gillian Anderson from, she's the head of global sales from Iris, which is a part of the Snap. I think I'm not making a mistake. Gillian, I hope you're here with us.
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can see you. It's so great that you could make it. Let me share your presentation.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'll do a quick intro while this gets started. You can put that in play if that is a little clearer. Perfect. So, you know, I'm really excited to be here today. Thanks, Olga, for having me. My name's Gillian Anderson. I'm coming from our newly founded Augmented Reality Enterprise Services, and that's you know, the friendly acronym ARES that we've been using. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but I lead our global sales effort where our mission is to bring our enterprise grade technology to retailers around the world. And I've been at Snap roughly 8 years, and I've had a personal passion for the environment since I was a very young child. And over the course of my tenure here, I've always taken note of Snap's sustainability efforts across the company as a whole. So I wanted to start there. You can go to the next slide. And, you know, to give you some context about the landscape, Snap has so many components driving eco-friendly efforts, but I wanted to highlight a few today. We have our advertising business where we have partners around the world leaning into Snap to educate their customers with immersive ad units, whether that's video or AR. And we've worked with major brands like Adidas and Wendy's and Ralph Lauren, Shell, to support their sustainability efforts and help them spread those messages. More broadly, our Snap community is made up heavily of Gen Z and millennials, if you don't know that already, and they're hyper-focused on the environment, so much so that 75% of millennials are willing to change their purchasing habits to reduce impact on the environment. And we'll talk a bit more about that as we go through this, but the Snapchat app also hosts a number of organic experiences to educate our user base on the environment. We've been pioneers in AR for, you know, upwards of a decade, and you may have seen when we partnered with the Great Barrier Reef Foundation to build out an organic AR experience on the app using water segmentation, where users could access this lens and share a pledge, so to speak, with friends to protect our oceans, and namely the Great Barrier Reef. And finally, kind of most recently, Snap has formed our AR Enterprise Services organization, which launched our first product in March, the Shopping Suite. And we're working to provide e-commerce retailers with an enhanced shopping experience, as well as a reduction in costly and wasteful returns, which is obviously a hot topic. You can go on to the next slide. You know, now, despite retailers using the internet to build the world's biggest shopping center, the online changing room experience hasn't really evolved, you know, enough at this point. So here I am ordering 3 sizes of the same product and returning 2 of those, or all 3 in some cases, and I'm really putting the retailer out on a number of fronts there. And for many brands, AR is still considered a tool of the future, but actually it's past that tipping point in terms of consumer adoption and interest in using it as utility. Please feel free to go ahead. So we know 60% of consumers have cited shopping as the #1 reason for using AR. So the utility is there. And on the next slide, the real challenges in retail and e-commerce today, 40% of shoppers are holding back on making a purchase due to the poor experience in dealing with returns. And returns are leading to a whopping 9.6 billion pounds of waste that ends up in landfills every year, in the US alone, actually. Online return rates are as high as 30 to 50% compared to just 5 or 10% of their in-store equivalent. So how can we take that in-store experience and mimic it more online? Lastly, 75% of consumers switched to a new store or product during the pandemic. So loyalty is a challenge. How can we really enrich that experience and get consumers coming back? On the next slide, we conducted a recent study where we found we know if the average brand adopts AR for sustainability, they can expect to see revenue increases. So for instance, 71% reported they're willing to pay more for clothing accessories with AR for sustainability. And it's kind of knowing all of these contextual points, where do we go from here? And on the next slide, we'll dive into, here is born the shopping suite from Aries. We're really excited to bring this to market and give all of you a look at what it encompasses. The next slide will give you the perspective of the shopper. So the shopping suite is delivering the ideal experience through this set of features that work together along the path to purchase to give answers to shoppers. So using the 3D viewer, we're answering, does this product look good? You're looking at this Puma shoe, you're kind of rotating it on all its axes. You can see the tread, you can see the suede material. And then through AR try-on for clothing accessories, you're answering that question, does it look good on me? And with Fit Finder, kind of the final step in that journey, you're going through a number of shopper inputs to really get the most accurate size and fit recommendation. So will it fit me? And should I buy it? So you're increasing this buyer confidence throughout using the shopping suite, and that's a huge part of reducing returns. On the next slide, I can kind of take you through a little bit more of what the shopping suite technology encompasses. So of course, we like that 3D element of being able to display a product in AR, try it on in AR virtually. And then we also have the AR image try-on. So that would be anything apparel related. And as you saw, we're bundling a number of siloed solutions to work better together. The shopping suite actually has also that fit and sizing recommendation to really compound the shopper confidence as they go through the experience. Finally, on this last slide, we've seen really great early results that we're excited to share and show our early success. We've helped with reducing returns for Princess Polly, creating a significant 24% lower return rate for shoppers who were using the combination of clothing try-on with our Fit Finder. So that combination really rounded out the experience and ultimately gave back to the merchant in a big way, as well as the environment. So that is kind of the Aries shopping suite at a high level. And I would love to kind of open it up if there are questions. Olga, I don't know if you have questions that you had kind of seeded or planted, but I'm happy to answer anything live here.
Jillian, thank you so much. The numbers are just amazing. And because I know that from this year from Vivatech, the biggest technological event in France and Paris, which just was last week, I heard the report that there have been a lot of AR solutions, a lot of AR startups pop up, and a lot of different variations how brands are using AR. And having these statistics which you showed today is really it's really great, just because having the technology and having the results on the sustainability, how this technology can help to drive sustainability, it's really promising. And I think that more brands need to implement AR try-ons, especially to reduce the returns. The same article Megan just mentioned during her speech, the number of returns and how much waste is generated, how much losses in revenue is generated for the brands. They can easily avoid big portion of that by integrating this AR technology. And I think this is really amazing. So I don't have much questions to you, but this is the comment I really want to add.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that it's great to kind of bring something to market that has all of the siloed solutions together. And I think we think the AR can even work harder as it's kind of partnered and worked with fit and sizing and these other components that make the shopper experience just richer in general. But yes, it's exciting, and we're eager to see where it goes.
Thank you so much, Jillian. I know that our founders, Natalia, is here and she joined us. So I don't know, Natalia, if you have any questions to Jillian or to comment a little bit more on AR technology or just add something, because we're just going to wrap up. Natalia, can you hear us?
Yes, it's a very strange image on
Yes.
my video. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Yes, we can see your hand.
Yes, that's very interesting. Let me see. Okay. That's a hand of some higher forces joining us. And I really want to thank to all the speakers today, because for us, it's always important to bring the different perspectives and different different data points from the experiences that our experts gained, because that's a very sensitive subject, and the line is always fine. And this is important to really kind of look at the data from the correct standpoint basis, not just have some numbers out of the context. So that's why we have been dedicated to it since day one, and Olga joined DRESSX since the very beginning to track everything. What's very important for us is to share it with everyone. This is the reason why we are hosting gatherings like this one. Because the most important that this knowledge and this data gets to hands, minds of people and gets implemented and really makes an impact. As we also contribute in one of the Sustainable Development Goals about the collaboration, this is exactly why we thank all of you for joining us today, and also to all of our speakers for bringing the dialogue. I see questions. I'm really grateful for everyone for asking. And I believe that's not the end of our summit, but I think it's a very beginning of the next stage of the conversation and the dialogue about sustainability in digital fashion, because it's a new space and evolving space. And it's really exciting to build it all together. So thank you everyone here. I see there are retailers, brands, NFT holders. I think we can all together make a future brighter and the future fashion more sustainable, exactly by doing what we are doing here all together now. Thank you so much. And thank you, Olga, for hosting this.
Thank you, Natalia. And I think that Daria was managed to join us. Daria, if you can hear us. Yes. Happy to see you.
Happy to see everyone too, and I'm sorry for joining super late, but I wanted also to say thank you, Olga, for organizing the event and for all the speakers to participating. And it's funny that we had a Twitter space before when we discussed the event, and then like the parts of the team came to listen to you, because not only it's important for all the external stakeholders, but it's also important for the internal stakeholders of DRESSX, because the reason one of the reasons and one of the pillars when we started DRESSX, and you all remember it that well because you was from early days with us, was exactly the how we can be more sustainable as an industry, how we as a company can contribute at a scale. And that's exactly like what we're thinking of, and continue to think and continue to understand how digital fashion can actually bring fashion industry as a total one into more sustainable future, because definitely when the item is produced in digital, it uses less resources when it's produced versus when it's produced in a physical reality. So that's why it's important for us to continue to push this notion to every fashion house, so they can also think, why don't we produce a part of our collections or creations in digital only reality, and easily save some CO2 emissions and some water that won't be put into the production. Because sometimes, I'm not saying that like let's all end our production or end wearing physical clothes, but let's just think of the ways how we can substitute where we can, so to save the resources that we can save. Because it's not only about the usage, it's about the overusage, unfortunately, when the crisis of sustainability in fashion happens. Because actually, yes, if we produce enough of the clothes, it won't be that drastical when we produce something that goes over the top of what should be produced and never be worn, actually. So that's why it's important for us to continue to highlight the topic, and to continue sharing all of our results and continue the conversation. Thank you so much. Olga, you probably are sharing something really important that we all need to download now and start wearing. And it's an item from our SDG Inspire collection.
Exactly.
That is available, I think, now in AR and also for the meta look, I believe. So
Yes.
that's exactly what everyone can do and have after the event. But Olga, please go next and tell people what to do with this beautiful QR code besides just scanning it.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Daria, Natalia, and thank you to all the speakers. I appreciate your time and your participation a lot. Thank you so much for those of you who joined us and listened. And I hope you made some notes, and the statistics which we heard today is amazing, and it's really inspiring how the technology can drive the sustainability. And as to say thank you to all of you, yes, you can scan the QR code, which will lead you to DRESSX app, where you can try absolutely for free these amazing earrings, which are literally cuffs, which are from Sustainable Development Goals inspired collection. And you can even order a meta look, a photo dressing of these earrings through our website. But yes, feel free to use these earrings or the digital pin or any other digital fashion you can find online. Share your photos, images, and think about conscious choices, why you're choosing digital fashion and trying to buy less physical. So yes, thank you so much to all of you. I hope to see you next time on our next event, next chapter of this event, and have a nice evening or day or night, depending where are you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.